Okay, so what is the number one thing that as a beginner you need to focus on in order for you to become better at sales? And then that's especially if you are a coach and consultant. Now, lately, most people want to try to do their business online, which is great because that gives you access to so many more people, right? You could be in America helping someone as far as Australia. That's awesome. But I will have to call out some people. I think most people trying to do business online is avoiding or trying their best to avoid having to have the face-to-face conversation or having the conversation over the phone in order for us to book clients, right? So that's one of the things that I've realized. So what is the number one thing that you could do as a coach or consultant to become better at sales? Because let's face it, you could try to avoid the sale conversation as much as you want to, but eventually you will have to speak to your prospect, especially if you are selling packages, around 3K, 5K, and 10K and more, right? So eventually you will need to speak to your prospect. So, how do you do that? And what is the number one thing that you will need to do in order for you to become better at sales? So, this is what this video is going to be about today. I'll quickly introduce myself. I'm Anne Jean-Pierre, and if you are new here, welcome. I know new here, so it's a little different today. But stick with me here. This channel, I help new entrepreneur women, especially in the coaching space, learn how to master the sales conversation to where they can learn to overcome objections, present their value better to their prospect, and and I do this through simple strategies and walk you to simple tips and coaching and things like that in order for you to be better at sales and in order for you to do so confidently and consistently. So if that sounds interesting to you, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so far for everyone who have subscribed. I really appreciate it. I'm glad I'm not speaking to air. So thank you so much. But yeah, if you are interested in those type of subjects on how to learn how to sell, this is the right place for you. So thank you so much for tuning in. So we're going to dive right into the conversation. So I was watching Cody Sanchez. I'm subscribed to her channel, and she was talking about the title video. I wrote it down. It's called The 4 Steps You Need to Make Your First 10K in Business, is what it is. So is what her video was. But in the 4 step, the first thing that she talked about was speed. And that to me, I think is very, very relevant and related to what we're going to talk about today. And that is how I think you can start to get better with in your sales. So we're going to talk about the first thing I think you need to address when you are trying to become better at sales. The first thing is stop procrastinating. Stop procrastinating. If you think about how long ago, at least for me, I could say the first time I thought about doing this, it took me 2 years before I actually dived in and did it, right? And now if we're thinking about compounded interest, right? Just like in investment, if you're thinking it from that perspective, I have left a lot on the table because I was procrastinating. I was procrastinating because I was thinking I don't know how to do a coaching business, right? And here's the thing. Anything that you don't know how to do, the only way for you to learn to do it is to just do it, right? So I think the number one thing that you have to address in order for you to become better at sales is to just bite the bullet and start selling. If you think, hey, you know what? I suck at sales. The only way for you to get better is for you to start selling. There is no perfection. Sales is a skill, right? Anyone can learn to sell. And because it's a skill, anyone can learn to do it. So here's the thing. If you are, it's not a intellectual exercise, right? It's not something where you like, hey, I'm going to read as much as I can about this subject and then go, which is great. You should read about it, but reading can only give you the strategies, the tactics, and everything. But you also have to apply it in order for you to learn what works for you and what doesn't. Like I said, I've been in corporate America in sales of some sort in corporate America for over a decade, right? Over 15 years. And every there's a lot of standard, right, that they all have, right? There's a lot of the same things that you learn no matter which corporation that you go to when it comes to sales, because a lot of the bases are the same. However, even with that, everyone have slightly different approaches when it comes to sales. And what I found is certain approaches worked better for me personally than others. And so in order for me to know that, I had to actually do it. I had to actually experience it, put it into practice to determine that, okay, this way of them approaching sales does not work for me, right? So you can read all of the books possible, but until you actually go ahead and start doing the sales, having the conversation, coming up, finding out what are some of the objections that you keep running into, right? Because that's one of the number one thing that I get asked a lot is how to overcome objections, how to overcome objections. And we can practice. I can give you tips. I can give you strategies. At the end of the day, you have to apply them. You have to apply them, right? And the truth of the matter is the sooner you do it, the better you get. There's no way around it, right? So one of the things that I find is because sometimes we're not sure about something, we're not sure on how to approach something. I'm sorry if that light is in my face. All right, that's better. Because we're scared or we're not sure how to approach something, we avoid it altogether. Well, if you're a businesswoman, right, you are an entrepreneur and you are scared of sales and you think you suck at sales, I'm sorry to say, you will have to get over that. You will have to get over it. And here's the reason. The reason being is if you are not selling, you will have to shut down your business, right? A business that is not selling is a business that is failing, right? So you just have an expensive habit if you have a business that is not selling. So when you start off, I don't want you to worry about getting everything perfectly. It's not about getting it perfectly. It's about doing it. One of the other things that I see is a holdup for people. They feel like if I don't know how to do this perfectly, or if I don't know how to do this, I will miss the opportunity in order for me for me to close this prospect. And so you try not to sell. You try your best to avoid the sales conversation as much as you can and find other ways to get the person to buy, right? But here's the thing. You can't avoid the sales conversation if you want to grow your business, right? I get it that a lot of us, a lot of people in the coaching and consulting business, a lot of time try to use other strategies like webinars and things like that to close clients. Those are great ways to get leads and get people in the door. The truth of the matter is, once those people come in the door, a lot of times you have to have the conversation yourself. You have to showcase the value in order for the person to actually move forward with booking the sales. So whether that's through a webinar of you showcasing the value, or whether that's on a one-on-one call of you showcasing the value, you still are having a sales conversation. And here's the thing, 40%, you will close 40%, or I guess I would have to say 35%, 30 to 35% more when you are having a one-on-one conversation than if you do a webinar, which closes about 10 to 15%, right? So those are great numbers. 10 to 15% close rate is still good numbers. But wouldn't you rather have 30 to 40% close ratio just by having conversations, right? So the thing is, pull the trigger, have the conversation. You will make mistakes. There's no way around it. You will make mistakes. And if your view is I don't want to make a mistake, then you will not learn. You won't learn. You have to make those mistakes in order for you to learn from those mistakes, in order for you to pivot and like, hey, I did this, and then next time I need to do X, Y, Z. I remember one of the jobs that I had, I was still kind of new in sales, right? And at this particular business that I was in, I was selling insurance is what I was selling. And I remember one of my coach, if you will, was watching me with my sales. And what he did is at the end of the day, he would take notes, right, of what I say, how I approach it, how I did X, Y, Z. And then he would come back and he would ask me, how did you think that went? And I would tell him how I think I went and all of that. And then he would tell me, what do you think you would need to do better? Now, he didn't tell me right away what he think I need to do better. He asked me, what do you think you need to do to make it better? And eventually, in having those sales conversations, I started picking up on some of the things I was saying that was hindering me from presenting the best value possible to that prospect. I was also learning how to really listen and kind of like take those golden nuggets, if you will, based on what the person was telling me, and then use them in the closing process. So the thing is, there's no way around that. You have to get into the momentum of speaking and trying and failing, and speaking and trying and failing, that whole cycle, in order for you to start getting better and better at the sales conversation, right? So one, don't procrastinate. Just get into it, and get into it fast, and get into it soon, in order for you to grow and learn everything that you need to learn. The other thing that I wanted to bring about on one of the things that you have to focus on, besides, of course, just speeding it up, right? Getting into it and making the mistakes as early as possible, is to, a lot of time people will tell you, focus on the outcome, right? Focus on the outcome of the conversation. As a beginner, though, I will advise you not to focus on the outcome, which is whether or not the person books, right? I don't want you to focus on that at first. It is very important. Don't get me wrong. It is very important. We are trying to close. We are trying to grow our business. So the outcome of that conversation is for you to book, is for you to close the prospect. So don't get me wrong on that. That's very important. However, as a beginner, I don't want you to focus on the outcome. I want you to focus more on practicing the conversation. Because if you are focusing on the outcome so much, what tends to happen is, a lot of times, especially when you're new, and especially if you already have a preconceived negative connotation around what sales is, right? If you're thinking, oh, sales is slimy and, pushy and things like that, if you already have that preconceived connotation to it, I want you to not focus on trying to close the client. I don't want that to be the dominating focus of your conversation. I want you to focus on three things as a beginner, when you are starting the conversation. I want you to pay close attention, active listening, to truly understand what their pain points are. That's the first thing I want you to focus on when you are learning to sell. Again, we already talked about the first most important thing is to just go and do it. Do it and mess up. It's okay, right? The other thing is, in the conversation, I want you to focus on learning what the pain points are what the pain points are specifically for that your prospect is dealing with. And then focus on what it is that once you understand their pain point and their problem, then focus on what my solution is and how can I show them that I can get them from their pain all the way to the solution to their problem. I can help alleviate that pain or remove it altogether, right? So when you are on that conversation, I want you to focus on learning what their pain is. Learn to listen to those cues to understand when it is that they're talking about their pain and focus on that. The second thing I want you to focus on is asking very, very great questions. The better the questions that you ask, the better that you will understand your prospect. And the better you understand your prospect, the easier it will get for you to close. So those are the first two things that I want you to really focus on when you are selling. Both of those things needs you to be actively listening to your prospect, right? So one is to understand their pain point. Two is to ask very specific, good questions to better understand them. And the third thing is to practice active listening. And so because you are new, that's why I don't want you to focus so much on the outcome, whether or not it's going to close. I promise you the outcome you will get the outcome that you want if you focus on getting these skills first. Listening, figuring out what their pain points are, asking the right questions and really good questions, relevant questions, right? And actively listening. As you do so, you will find that you will start increasing your close ratio, which is what we all want. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, was exactly that. So if you found this video helpful, please subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think. I definitely want you to, as a beginner, again, not to focus on the outcome. If there's something else that you think I should expand on and you're like, hey, what about this? Please leave a comment below and let me know. I would love to learn, make a video about that question that you have that you want me to expand on. So please let me know. So that's it for me today. Thank you again for taking the time to speak with me. And as always, if you have any questions, concern, remember, God got your back. All you have to do is ask him, as he will teach you, guide you, and counsel you in the way that you should go. Thank you so much and have a blessed day. God bless.